Our doctors know so much about us, but what do we know about them? Today, we're sitting down with Dr. Jerome Smith, a pediatrician at MarinHealth Pediatric Care. He'll share with us his education, training, and philosophy of care. This is the Healing Podcast brought to you by MarinHealth. I'm your host, Caitlin White. So, Dr. Smith, what made you decide to become a physician?
I graduated from engineering school, and in the early 90s, I worked in D.C. in IT and was volunteering with an after-school program for underserved kids 1 day a week. And I realized I got a lot more energy from that 90 minutes helping kids than I did at my day job. So I think it was a combination of the interpersonal contact and the ability to help someone early in life. So I had way too much student debt to consider going to social work or psychology, and lots of math and science behind me. So I thought pediatrics would be a good fit. I took one transitional year preparing for med school and teaching high school, and that time with my adolescents just further cemented my decision.
I love that. And you touched on it a bit, but where did you receive your education and training?
Yeah, I did my undergrad at Duke University and stayed in D.C. for medical school. I went to George Washington University. And this was right about the time the Clinton health plan debates were happening. So it's an exciting time to be in Washington for us medical students. But there were a couple of also really cold, snowy winters during my clinical years. So I was off to come to California for residency. I did my internship and residency at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles and my master's at UCLA at the same time.
Now, tell us about your philosophy of care. How do you approach the care of your patients?
Yeah, that's a great question. My philosophy of care was heavily influenced by my mentors at Cedars and at UCLA. Were very system-oriented. They introduced me to this idea of life course health development, that certain things in early life can influence your whole lifelong potential from very early on. The concept of a trajectory that can be positively or negatively bent, influenced by fetal factors, early childhood factors, and other things in childhood and adolescence. And as all of these fields coalesced, everything from genetics and epigenetics, your home, your neighborhood, school, community environment, social systems, even policy, your access to care, your access to clean air and parks, all of these things set you up on a track. And I see my role as kind of promoting those things that can positively influence that trajectory, like encouraging parents to read to their children from early on, or proper early identification of developmental differences, or caring for chronic disease so that they're managed well, behavioral, emotional issues, all of that stuff. And then on the flip side of that, mitigating negative effects on that trajectory, things like excess screen time, untreated cavities, development of obesity, those sorts of things, so that they have less of a lasting effect in midlife. I think that optimizing a child's development for school readiness is an outflow of that. Counseling teens on harm reduction and critical thinking development are outflows of that. More recently in California anyway, we have this move to understand trauma-informed care and recognition of those cumulative effects of those kinds of toxic stresses or adverse child experiences. That's another kind of outflow of that. So I approach care with a particular focus on the comprehensive wellness exam, so we can check in on a lot of those things, but also on actively coordinating care in the case of chronic illness and putting things into a larger context. I'd say as a scientist and certainly as a public health professional, I'm a strong vaccine proponent. So that's part of my philosophy of care. And I also really like teaching parents and older kids during their visits. The word doctor actually comes from a Latin root, docere, meaning to teach. So the word docent and doctrine come from the same root. So hopefully we can teach what it is and why it's important. We get better follow through from families who maybe just need to hear a little more context before they make decisions about their kids' health.
Now, you mentioned you got to California because of your residency. Now, what brought you to the Bay Area?
Well, I was a military brat, so I was used to moving around and seeing lots of different places. But California in particular, it's always represented to me a vibrant mix of ideas and innovation and good weather. And the Bay Area has very temperate climate. I live in a beautiful small town, and Sonoma really drew me in and sealed the deal.
What do you like to do in the Bay Area? What are your favorite parts of it?
Well, like I said, the weather's great. We can reach the mountains. We can reach the ocean. We can go down to big city, arts and performing arts and museums and such, all within an hour's drive. So that's really great. And this small town, I lived in big cities for many decades of my life. And at this stage with, having young kids, this is kind of the best of both worlds. We have a very informed, educated, interesting, diverse population here, and yet it's not that big, heavy pace, and there's no traffic. I think I have a 7-minute commute to work.
Oh my gosh, we love that.
I know, right?
Now, besides the good weather, of course, what drew you to MarinHealth?
Well, I love the balance of working in a small town practice with some great colleagues, and then the balance of a support of a larger system like MarinHealth and its affiliation with UCSF. This is one of the world's finest medical centers, so it's the best of both worlds.
Great, Dr. Smith. Is there anything else you'd like your patients to know about you?
I have twin sons, and they continue to teach me a lot about pediatrics and being flexible with solutions and just the general challenges of being a parent, certainly. I love to travel, expose our sons to other languages, cultures, and histories.
Oh, wow.
We actually hosted 2 exchange students before the kids were born, and now they are young adults, so we love whenever we can meet up with them anywhere.
Oh, how cool. Where were they from?
One was from Norway, and then a second year was from Sweden. So
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's like the kids have extra sets of parents and brothers in Scandinavia. I'm also a human jukebox, so my patients will hear me humming and whistling in the halls a lot in the office. And I perform with a local chamber ensemble, at least pre-COVID anyway, when we could still do those sorts of things.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Smith, for taking the time to share with us a bit about yourself. You can learn more about all of our doctors at mymarinhealth.org. This is the Health Podcast brought to you by Marin Health. I'm Caitlin White. Stay well.